Breaking Dawn just around the corner. We're here to give you the rundown on books versus movies of Twilight Saga. My name is Marilyn Dominguez, and since you've been blowing up our site non-stop asking about what's going to happen in the movie and what happened in the books, we're going to give you the rundown right now. So let's start with Twilight. At the beginning, they have this whole build-up with the three vampires, Victoria, James, and Laurent. All three of them attacking Wayland Forge and just starting this whole big mess. With those three never really appear in the book until the very end, towards the whole big baseball scene. Wayland Forge's character doesn't exist. So that's a whole build-up in the movie to try to build up a villain. The other thing to remember is that the greenhouse field trip never happened in the book. Bella and Edward get close after a big project that actually they couldn't participate. It was for a blood type, and obviously Edward can't participate with that because he's a vampire. Ooh, spoiler. Another thing to remember is that Bella, when she visits Edward's house for the first time, in the book there's never actually a food fight between her and Rosalie. Not an actual food fight, just a fight over food. In the book, Edward just takes her over to his house. He performs the lullaby for her, which is really, really important. This is a big part of what he feels for her. He talks about the cross in their house because vampires are not afraid of crosses, guys. Get that out of your head. And he also gives her a bit of her history, which is so important. He talks a little bit about Volturi and a little bit about their past. So another thing to remember, last thing on the Twilight movie, is that there is a Cullen crest that they all wear on their clothes or on their bodies. This is actually not really part of the book, just a made-up hoopla movie stuff. So moving on to New Moon, book versus movie. In the film, Bella jumps onto some random guy's Harley and drives off just so she can get close to Edward in her head. But that never happens in the book, I swear. She just gets close to the guys just to test out how far her hearing of Edward's voice can go. So another big part of the New Moon do's and don'ts is that Bella never really slaps Paul. In fact, that doesn't ever happen. In the book, there's just a discussion over Bella between Paul and Jacob, and then they get into a fight. But Bella's not there. And another key part is that Bella never actually sees Edward once he's gone. She just hears his voice. Of course, in the movie, we can't forget that Edward exists, so they had to put him in there somehow. These people, gosh. So now moving on to Eclipse, book versus movie. A big part of the book that was not mentioned in the movie was imprinting. Imprinting is part of the Quilu tribe. It's when a guy finds a girl and meets his true soulmate. And age really isn't a big deal, apparently. So in the book, Quill discovers that Emily's 2-year-old niece is actually his imprinted soulmate. So age is not really a big deal, which Bella and Edward kind of teach us. So the next one's a huge, massive deal. Remember in Eclipse when Jacob forces his kiss upon Bella and then Edward just shows up at the right time? Yeah, that doesn't actually go down in the book that way. In the book, Bella calls Edward and lets him know what just happened. But he shows up and then confronts Jacob calmly. The book does not get it right. The movie totally gets it right. We needed to see Jacob shirtless in his glamour and deliciousness. Ooh, a little saucy there. And Bella and Edward just need to have that moment of frustration. It was perfect. Well done. So for the final part in the Eclipse book, Jacob sadly receives the invite to Bella and Edward's wedding. This was actually not part of the Eclipse movie. In fact, it's going to be the opener for the Breaking Dawn Part 1 film. And this is a bit of a switch up, but at least it's getting done. Well done. So now that we got that covered, and Breaking Dawn Part 1 is just around the corner, we have to talk about those 3 major scenes that will blow our minds in the movie. Can't wait to see what they're going to do to top these. We've got the wedding scene, the gruesome birth scene, and of course, the honeymoon. Oh yeah. So tune in and don't miss out. Watch Breaking Dawn and then tune in for my review.